Good morning, garden friends. I don't know if you guys are experiencing this Arctic blast, but it's cold outside. And I thought, what better time for us to come together for Sip, Sow, and Share, where gardeners have real life conversations. Now, for those of you who have not viewed the community board, this is where we have some fun. We do trivia. We talk about some of the highs and lows of gardening to not only build relationships, but also learn from each other. So come along with me as we go through some of the questions and answers that was on the community board, share with you some of the trivia that we ended up doing. But I also want to be able to share with you this amazing opportunity that I had earlier in the week to do a presentation for Indian Creek Garden Club. Guys, that's the beauty of gardening, to be able to have a discussion about tough times, tough plants, and the knowledge and the engagement that we ended up having, covering, tough plants to use in your garden so it's successful, understanding soil, health, and the structure, native and pollinator plants. And then we also had a fun section of Do You Know? Well, first, let us dive into some of the questions and the conversations from other gardeners that we had. So grab your coffee, whatever you choose, early in the morning, sit back, and I hope you enjoy me sharing with you some of the conversations that we ended up having. So the first question was, what plant taught you the most in 2025 and why? Emily from A Scent of a Garden said, growing Lysanthrus from seed made her feel like she had earned her stripes in home gardening. She also said that she loved that her snapdragons that she had seeded are actually blooming in December. And as I told Emily on a previous video, I showed you that I am trying to grow Lysanthrus. I know I'm saying it wrong, but I want to try it, even though they say they are very temperamental. That's the beauty of gardening is being willing to try. And then on top of that, they are just so beautiful. Renee from RB Gardening Journal stated her Super Tunia Giant Pinks. I have never heard of those, and that's what I told her. But the way she described them, I need to get them. While Proven Winners bubblegum are my favorites, these also sound like they would be something that would do very well in my garden. And she says, you don't hear a lot about them because it's not a Vista and doesn't hang out with the other characteristics of like the bubblegum or the Bordeaux or the magenta. But she felt that it's in a class by itself, which intrigued me, because like I said, the bubblegum is probably one of my favorites. And she also reiterated that if you do love the bubblegum petunias, you will love the Super Tunia Giant Pinks. So, and it's also by Proven Winner. Joellen said it was her Scabious Lavender pin cushions. And as you guys know, pin cushions are my favorite. And I told her that because she says it's short-lived, perennial, and that this was like her third year for growing it. With gardening and plant, like I said, they can be temperamental. And that was the one thing that she said that they didn't seem to do as well. But we had a odd season last year, and I even saw things that normally were, high performers in my garden struggle. Now, I'm like Joellen. just because something doesn't do well, I'm not someone that'll give up. And that was the one thing that she stated, that she was going to do it for this season. And then she also mentioned Peter Cottontail yarrow. She said that she loves it because of the structure. It looks like baby's breath. So thank you, Joellen, for sharing what taught you the most for 2025. Rose White said that daisies don't like her yard. And she's like me. Her thought process was, is it going to stop her from planting it? No. So her response was she learned nothing. But, this is the thing. While it may not have been successful in the garden, seasons change, soil change. So the fact that he is going to continue to plant it, it's also about enjoyment. If it's something that you enjoy, plant it. I enjoy the Proven Winners banana cream too. Sometimes it'll do well, sometimes it won't, but I just love how it ends up looking. Well, guys, that was the first question and discussion that we ended up having. Now, the next one was a poll in regards to when we think of the greatest benefit that our garden gives us, it isn't just what grows in the soil, it's what grows within us. And gardening gives us movement, peace of mind, patience, and a place where we can breathe, where we can teach not only ourselves, but others. So I asked, what does your garden give you beyond plants? And the choices were connection and purpose, creativity and self-expression, healing and reflection, and physical benefits. The top response was healing and reflection. People garden for different reasons and get different things out of gardening. And I think based off of the response that we got, at 58%, individuals felt healing and reflection was what they ended up getting out of their garden. And that's the beauty of us having these conversations, because one thing that we find is there's a commonality that we gardeners share. And to be able to have individuals be able to express that within this community, which makes this such a special place to be a part of. The next thing, we did a trivia, and the question was, during winter dormancy, what is actually happening to most perennial plants? And the options were, they are completely dead and inactive. Growth stops above the ground, but roots are actively storing energy. They continue to grow underground. They only survive if watered frequently. Well, the answer is growth stops above ground, but the roots are alive, storing energy. And that was one of the things that we ended up learning in the Master Gardeners. And then even if you are working in your garden, while perennials are dying back, if you end up transplanting them as you're reconfiguring your garden, you can see that the roots are nice and healthy. And while above ground, it is possibly looking dead, unless it's a perennial that remains as an evergreen through the winter months, those roots are still actively doing what they need to do by drawing nutrients from the soil to help them end up producing very vibrant plants for the next season. All right, so the next question was, because progress isn't just visible growth, what are you still working on in the garden even though plants are dormant. And the choices were beds being reworked, seeds being planted, structures being added, enjoying a break. And we actually had 3 that was tied. Beds are being reworked, seeds are being planted, enjoying a break. And when you sit here and you think about those things, we were in the season of being able to reimagine what we wanted our beds to look like. As some previous videos that I had done, I had shown, I was reimagining the garden, relaying it out. And that meant digging up plants while soil was still a good temperature, soft, not frozen. And then right now, because we are having this Arctic weather, that's what a lot of people are doing. They're getting their seeds started for this season. And then as far as just enjoying a break, we all need those moments, whether it's due to the seasonality of where we live because of our zone, or just stepping back. And stepping back to take a break could just be gaining a moment of clarity or direction in regards to where you want to see your garden. Or just, you know what? Hey, I don't feel like going out in the dirt. I don't feel like planting up seeds. And that's okay. So guys, those were some of the things that we ended up talking about in the community board for Sip, Sow, and Share. Now, let me share with you guys the conversation through the presentation that I ended up doing for Indian Creek Garden Club. And I first want to say, it was truly an honor because there were some seasoned gardeners in there that we were able to have good conversation and provide science-based resources for them, because this was tied, to my master gardener. And the ladies, based off of our conversation, understanding that when we talk about tough times, tough plants, there's a lot that we need to take into consideration. The soil, that is the foundation of ensuring that your plant is successful, and one of the things that we talked about was how important it is to get your soil tested, because here in Georgia, the pH needs to be below 7. Yeah, below 7. The pH needs to be at 7 or below because of our soil. We ended up talking about plant selections. I was able to share with them a lot of my drought-tolerant plants that I have in my garden. And also reiterating, just because it says drought-tolerant doesn't mean when you put it in the ground, they become drought-tolerant once they are established. And as you guys know, my garden is full sun. We talked about, how some individuals, because of the area that they end up living in is established with tons of trees. Their garden is shade. Even if, whether it is a full sun or shade garden, you have to make sure right plant, right place. And those were things that we ended up talking about. We also talked about things that we can do to assist in with our garden, because Mother Nature is going to do what Mother Nature is going to do, and we're experiencing that now. And that was the one thing that we were talking about, the fact of the topic, tough times, tough plants, with the current conditions and the change in the season. We have to be able to adapt, and in adapting, that also means making sure we're picking the right plants to be successful. Because the one thing that I told them is, like, sometimes pretty can get me in trouble because I want something in the garden because of how it looks, but it may not be conducive to my environment. We also talked about the benefits of native plants as the conditions, the environment change. One of the things that we all could agree upon was do what we can to ensure that our pollinators, the butterflies, the bees, the beneficial insects that are crucial to our ecosystem have what they need so that they can survive, because those are things that are beneficial just for overall in our environment. Plus, was able to also provide them with some actions of what can we be doing now to ensure that during tough times of gardening, we're prepared, and also provided them some do you know. Guys, if you ever have an opportunity to be a speaker at whether it's a garden club or an event, one of the things that I took away from doing this presentation is we can learn from each other. We can be inspired from each other. We can grow with each other. And that's why even with my community board for Sip, Sow, and Share, I think it's a benefit, because whether it's public speaking, whether it's us communicating, YouTube, we gain such a wealth of knowledge. So I want to once again thank Indian Creek Garden Club for extending the opportunity for me to speak on Tough Times, Tough Plants. And I can't forget their hospitality that they ended up sharing with myself and Howard. I want to thank those that participated in either the surveys, the trivias, or just insight in regards to what you are doing or planning on doing for your garden this year. It means a lot. And I think what it does, it just shows by building a very strong garden community, we all benefit. Well, thank you again for visiting Inspiring Garden Corner and also participating in Sips, Sow, and Share. Until next time, garden friends, thanks.